Hello everyone and welcome back again. Now in this lesson we're gonna start building up our Hello World app and just again to point you out to the IDE which we're gonna be using. So we are gonna be working with Android Studio, and this is where once you click on this link you will download Android Studio, and once you download it, install it. Of course you're gonna have to install JDK first. JDK, once it's installed, then you can actually download Android Studio, and then once you install Android Studio, you will get Android Studio up and running in front of you, and you're going to be greeted with a screen that looks somewhat like this. Now, since I've instantiated some projects before, so that's why um, I get this recent projects list over here. Also, you would notice that probably by the time when you install your IDE, you will find out that my IDE is having the darker theme, which is quite popular among people showing on YouTube, for example, some of the tutorials of Android or tech vlogs, for example. So if you like the dark themes of in IDEs in general, you can go ahead and configure, and then you go to settings, and let me resize this a bit. And in the appearance, you will get, once it loads actually, you will get here the theme which says Darkula. Of course, I think by default is the IntelliJ, but I picked up Darkula. Once you apply that theme, you're gonna have to restart your IDE, and then you're gonna get the fully kind of dark theme there. Also, once you actually start up your project, you will find out that your project will be, once you, for example, like, okay, we started Android Studio, created a new project, and then when you close Android Studio and relaunch it again, you will start up right away with the latest project that you had. So I think there's an option for that, which is called like, let me see here. Let me start up project. I think it's somewhere in the editor options. There you go. You see, reopen last project on startup, and right here I just simply uncheck that option. So, and confirm upon confirm application exit. So before I exit, the application asks me. So this is why I just simply uncheck that option as well. So it always greets me with this dialog in case I wanted to open an older project, or I would like to create a new project every time. Now, once you had Android Studio up and running like this, please don't forget to press the button check for updates. So once you click on the button check for updates, you will get this update info. And of course, currently my release is, by the time of this recording, 0.5.1, which is updated to the latest version. If you run Android Studio as an administrator, and you have to run it as an administrator, so you could go to the SDK manager, and give it a second here. Now it will show you all the SDKs that has been installed on your machine and whatever needs the update. So for example, in my case right now, for the samples update for the SDK needs an update here, and this is it. So I have only one package here. All right. Now, of course, you can feel free to install any SDK. So currently I have only, I think, okay, the developer tools and everything, and I have the Android SDK for KitKat, and Jelly Beans right there. And Jelly Beans apparently the 4.2.2, not the 4.3. But anyway, we're gonna be working with KitKat for now. So we're gonna be always targeting the latest greatest. Now I'm not gonna actually do any updates, so I don't wanna actually run into, maybe I could break something there. So I don't wanna run any updates right now. I'll run it probably later on. All right, so once you have installed Android Studio, you run the SDK manager, you updated everything. So once you click on the SDK manager, you will find some files to install and update. You update that. And once the update is done, restart Android Studio again, and then we can go ahead and start a new project. Now, during this course, we're going to be developing an application, a simple application, as like a mobile application for our student service. So, for example, you are student.fit.ba is the portal on your webpage where you can actually start checking the announcements, downloading materials, and so on and so forth. We're gonna be trying to make an application that is more like a mobile version for the Android phone. So you can, instead of going to the website every time, you have the application which you can download from the Google Play Store, and then you can access the student services. All right, and we're gonna of course start adding features and so on. So maybe hopefully someone will take over once we finish this demo, and we could polish it even more, and it could be actually used for real. So okay, so let's get started. So here I'm gonna call this the DLMS client. Okay, I will leave this as it is for now. And usually the package name is quite famous among Java people or among Java programmers, that you write the reverse domain name. So I'm gonna call this ba.fit.dlmsclient.app, and I'll leave it that way. And this is the project location, so username, which is Mohammed in my case on my PC, Android Studio projects, and then the folder. Now the minimum SDK is Froyo. Now I don't want to target the very, very oldest kind of API over here. I will actually target a little bit newer. I mean, at least the minimum one, how far back I would like to go. And apparently, since I have only Jelly Beans 4.2.2 installed, I will just keep it there. The target SDK, I'm gonna always target the latest greatest. That's what you should do. Always target the latest greatest, and then the minimum is how far you would like to go back. Now, how far you would like to go back is, of course, you have to check out your dashboard, as we already talked about in the last video, and you can choose it. And of course, make sure when you are choosing the minimum SDK, make sure that you have already that SDK installed as well. So just in case if you run into any kind of problems. And the theme, I will leave it as it is by default, Hollow Light with dark action bar. So I'm going to hit next. Now I would like to get a blank activity, so I'm going to hit next. And the activity name. Now for the first screen which the user is going to get is the authentication page, or the authentication activity. So I'm going to call this login activity. All right, I'm gonna call it like capital L, capital A, and the layout name is gonna be activity_login, which I'm quite happy with the name. And I'm not gonna add any features like fragments or action bars or whatever. I'm actually gonna leave everything as it is by default, just for now. And then if we needed anything, we're gonna just simply start adding upon it. All right, so let's hit finish. And right now we will be waiting for the Gradle, which is a building system, to finish building our application. Now, of course, my window actually went way, way far. Let me hit close here. And we just fit this into the recording area. All right. So let me push this right there. Okay, so the first thing we get is as you can see here, our IDE, which we get the project side. We get as well the Gradle tasks manager over here. Now, if you open the pane by clicking on it directly, I think it will close it. If you hold the Alt key, you will hide it. Right? And let's take a moment and look at our application structure here for a bit. So the first thing here is you have to know about is that the Android Studio is built upon, or is based on, the IntelliJ IDE, which is an alternative Java development environment for like Eclipse and NetBeans, and it's actually built upon the community free edition. Okay, now if you look here, you have this .idea folder. With then the .idea folder is the folder where the basic metadata of your project that is needed by the IntelliJ to keep track of your project files and everything. So this is where the IDEA project is, what the IDEA folder is containing. Okay. The app is containing your app folder where you have your the build, where your built resources and everything. I mean, if once you build your application, the build stuff is there. The libs is where your external where your libraries which are using is there are there actually. The source where you have your source files, so your classes and everything, your packages will be actually right here. You have your resources where you have for example, the drawables and layouts, menus, values, and you can have even more and more folders which we could add later on. And the Android manifest, which is a very important XML file, which describes here what kind of permissions you need to add to your application if you would like to make the application target different SDK, what is going to be the launching activity, what are the what are the intent filters and all these stuff. We're going to get into that later on during our the course, throughout this course while developing this application. We're going to get through many of these things, many of these keywords which I was mentioning right now. Excuse me. We have our Gradle build, for example, files which describing what are building tools I'm using, what is the SDK version I'm targeting, and everything. And I will talk in a second what is a build system is in a minute here. And here is the Gradle libraries which is needed for the Gradle system to work so it can actually build your system. Now, what is this Gradle anyway? What is a building system? Now, if you are working in a larger environment, in a production environment where you have like 5 or 6 or 10 people are working on the same project, and you have and the project got really large, and you have databases, and you have a lot of dependencies with files, libraries, resources, icons, pictures, and so on and so forth. Now, once the project gets to that size, and once you are actually working on your development machine, your development machine has a lot of links to different files in different locations. Now, once another person actually joins your team, you have to deploy your project in that new person's, your new team member's computer or machine in order for him or her to start working with you on the same project. Now, the problem here is, how would you automate that process without having a lot of pain in copying and pasting every single file, matching the directories paths, and making sure that, for example, certain services are installed and certain, for example, SQL databases have been instantiated or deployed and all these stuff. If you are doing this by hand, this will take really a very long time, and this is really bad, and it's really counterintuitive and really problematic. And for example, it could take hours and maybe days for that to happen. Now, what a building system does is more like a scripting system or like a monitoring system, which keeps track of every file you have in your project. And what it does is it will just, once you would like to deploy that project somewhere else, you just simply say, okay, I'm going to make that build for deployment, for development deployment. So anybody who is going to use that project, I'm going to build it, and I'm going to give that build files along with my project files. And then whoever is going to be trying to deploy that build in their machine, they will just simply run a simple command, and they will immediately and they will just sit back in like say in 10-15 minutes, the whole project will be deployed on their machine, and they can immediately start working right away. So this is a very cool, how can I say, very cool feature for people to utilize if they would like to deploy their project somewhere else. Right? Um, okay, so since we have an idea about the project structure, we can actually start working on with the classes themselves. Now I'm gonna actually make a separate video for intents and activities and what are they, what is the activities life cycle and everything. But we're gonna keep that. So we're gonna keep that in a later lesson. So I'm gonna keep this lesson really flat and really smooth, so you can actually like start building out your application and have something running in your emulator. Right. So before actually I run this, let me show you first some of the things here in the resources. A drawable for if you haven't noticed yet, you have multiple folders of drawables. You have a drawable HDPI, MDPI, XHDPI, XXHDPI, and all these folders are relating to different screen sizes for I mean, the HDPI is for a different screen size, MDPI is a different screen size, and you have an icon for every different screen size. And Android, in fact, automatically, what it will do is once your application runs, it will seek for the resource that's suitable for the device's current screen resolution, and then you will get that graphics right away running for that specific screen resolution. All right. Now, if I collapse this, now of course we're gonna be working with the drawables. I'm gonna actually make probably another folder called drawable without any prefixes, actually suffixes, because I need it to run on all screen resolutions regardless of where it's gonna be. So we're gonna see that in detail later on in the next video. Now, the layout is here. Here's the part where we would like to configure how our layout will look like. Now, we have two ways of configuring our layout. We have this nice GUI configuration here, where you can actually start adjusting properties of certain things in your user interface. Right there, you have all the controls from the palette. You can here pick up the theme. So if you are working with, currently this is Nexus 4. If you would like to work with Nexus 5, there you go. You can actually select it out and you get actual Nexus 5 phone here. So there we go. So this is how your application will look inside Nexus 5 skin. I'm actually working with Nexus 4 here. So I don't know actually what is the difference between those two, but anyway. And of course you have Nexus 10, Nexus 7. Actually, this is like the Google Play editions of their phones, or the Nexus lines, if you say. And here is the other standard screen resolutions that could appear in the market. Now, of course, you can actually add different device definitions and so on. Now, honestly, personally, in fact, I like to work with XML layout even more because I got the more flexibility and I get much faster writing out what I exactly want. And if you look carefully here, I get my the phone here is displayed beside me. So I could in fact change everything and anything, and it will be adjusted live. So if I take this as an example, right now this is hello world, but when I click here it will show add_string. But just bear with me here for a second. I will explain what add_string is. But I would say, for example, this is a test, and once I save, you get the change reflecting right there, which is really very intuitive and very productive. So this is really good. Oops, sorry. So this is really good to have around. So you have the text, you can manipulate, you can write the commands, and then you can see the changes there right away. And you're going to see me most of the time I'm working in this area. But of course, feel free to work in the designer view. There is no any problems, or nothing is actually stopping you from doing that. Okay. Now, if I would like to run the application right now, we have to run it inside an emulator so we can see what's happening. Or, of course, if you have your phone with you right now, you can just hook up your phone with USB cable, and then you get your application just debugged and up and running. Now, I have actually installed Genymotion, and you can get Genymotion right from here. So the fast Android emulator, which is really, really fast. And of course, you have to sign in. Then you can, once you sign in, you just download the Genymotion emulator. Actually, you're gonna get the download the package with the VirtualBox virtual machine. And once you install everything, you will get once you launch your application, you will get this Genymotion application. You will be greeted with this window, and of course everything will be blank. You will not see anything. Here I downloaded actually two ROMs, which is the actually by accidentally I've double clicked on the 4.3, which is Jelly Beans, the latest Jelly. Alrighty, just give it a minute. And there you go. Let me just resize this. And this is really the coolest part. You can actually resize it to fit in to any resolution. And it is really, really fast. Now I'm actually I'm gonna wait for it until it boots, so I'm gonna close it and then I'm gonna actually start the KitKat version, because I don't know what could happen actually if actually there you go. Well, I mean, if something happened, I could just simply like delete it and download it again. So if you would like to add ones, you just simply hit the add button, and then you will be greeted with. Of course, I have to connect. I have to log in. So let me log in here. And right now you will be greeted with all the screen resolutions and ROMs that are available for you to download. Now, honestly, I have by the time of this recording, I have the Nexus 4, so that's why I downloaded the Nexus 4 ROM. So when I test on the emulator, at least I know for sure once I plug in my device, I will get exactly the same experience, and then I can launch from there and start testing on other devices. So that's why I'm always using Nexus 4. Feel free to use any kind of device. So I'm going to be actually throughout this video, I'm going to be or this series of videos, I'm going to be sticking out with Nexus 4. All right, so I just simply like selected a ROM and then I just hit next and download one. All right, but since I have already downloaded, I'll just simply double click it or hit the play button and start it. Now give it a moment just until it starts, and then we're gonna actually like run the application right away. So let me resize this. And it's very, very important, guys, that you really don't test your application just on the emulator again, because you really never know. I mean, the emulator is really, really fast, as you can see here. I mean, maybe you're gonna get a little bit dropout in the frame rate, but because of the recording. But I assure you, this the emulator is really buttery smooth. Now, if you hit the start button, by the way, if you don't have an Android phone, or you haven't owned an Android phone before, I advise you to install the emulator. This is actually as close as it gets to an Android phone. So you can just start exploring, see how the phone works and everything. And this is really almost close to experience to a real phone. So you will have, however, you're going to have a little bit different applications that don't exist in other phones. For example, the super user, which exists only if you have rooted your phone. The API demos, you don't see that on your phone, of course. And when you click here, you'll get all the demos that exist in the documentation. So, for example, if I hit the animation, if I go here, for example, seeking, and then if I hit run, so this is like so I could control certain things here. All right, so this is like for, you know, seeking, tracking here, animation and everything. And of course you get a lot of these things. um, Animation, bouncing ball. So this is really kind of cool. um, Now, of course, you have on all other sections, you have many sections there. You have graphics where you can actually start playing with cameras, OpenGL, and many other things. Now, if you are interested in these demos and seeing their source code, you can go ahead, visit these samples, the part of the samples of the SDK, and you can, of course, start, expanding these and getting out, for example, like getting all the explanation of every sample. And if you would like to go ahead and check out the projects themselves, you can go ahead, go to the Android Studios installation, which is going to be located, if you install it by default, for everyone, not only for the current user which is using the current phone, the current computer. Program files, Android Studio, SDK, and then here inside the samples, you get the actual project, okay, which you can actually import and play with. All right, so let me close that. And since we already know where everything is and we have our Android emulator up and running, I just simply hit the run button here. Now ADB is connecting to the emulator right now, trying to actually go for it. The Gradle is trying to build the project right now, making a building script for it. So just give it a second here. And right now we can choose the device, Genymotion Nexus 4, which is good. And OK. And there you go. We get the hello world, the LMS client, and then you get a very interesting kind of debug. Sorry, I'm going to actually resize this. You can see everything just being resized in a scary way, but it's okay. And this is what is called the Logcat. Now, Logcat is the logging system, the official logging system, where you can actually monitor what is happening inside your application. Now, unlike developing Windows application for Windows, for example, where some of the times you were actually starting, let's say, for example, when you are debugging your application, you start displaying message boxes and everything just really quick, and everything. In Android is not recommended at all. While developing Windows applications and even web applications, it's always advised that you use something which is called a logging system. Log4j is quite famous. Log4j is the Java version for it if you are developing using Java. Logcat is the logging system which Android uses. So you can, in fact, see all the debug messages coming out of your phone. What is application currently running? What have you actually have pressed or executed? Have the refresh rate has changed, and so on and so forth. And of course, please do not forget, if you are using a real phone, that you have to go to the well, okay, the developer settings apparently is not here. So let me see. So let me hit on the build number. So there you go. Okay, it's 3 steps away, 2 steps away, 1 more, and now I'm a developer. And this is what you should do on your phone, by the way. So I'm going to get back and just give it a minute. And right here I have the developers option. And give it a minute as well. Now I think it's a little bit slow because of the recording and everything, but here you go. I enable USB debugging. Now you have to enable that if you'd like to debug through USB, so it's very, very important. Hit back, and that's it. Now if you have run your application is already installed, and as you can see here, it is the DLMS client. So once you click on it, it runs again. Okay, and we get this default menu which has this setting button which doesn't do anything, which is okay. Now let me go ahead, minimize this down a little bit. Okay, or maybe even actually, because we are really running out of space, I'm just going to hide it here. And let's talk about about the layout here for a second. Now, when I'm just going to zoom here a little bit like this. Now, when we are talking about making an application for a mobile phone, we have to be careful about the size of the text, the size of the views right now, which is going to be, this is the controls. Actually, views are basically the controls, like text buttons and text boxes, buttons, and all labels and all these things. And the distances between them. So it's very, very important because our fingers are a little bit larger than the screen. So it's very, very important that you actually get this UI kind of layout right. Now, additionally, we need to make a login layout where we're going to have like the username and password and a button submit. And maybe, for example, if you are having any problems logging in, like report to us a problem or something like that, maybe we're going to push in or put in a button right there. Now, for the all intents and purposes, we're going to actually make this UI a little bit more, how can I say, we're gonna beautify it. We're gonna make rounded buttons or maybe rounded text boxes. We're gonna see, and we're gonna change the colors a little bit, so we make it looking a little bit more professional, but rather than giving it this very default kind of old way of, you know, since Android 1.5 kind of look. Okay. Now, if you look here carefully, you get the add strings hello world. Now, why is that? Now, if you expand your values over here, you will get dimensions, strings, styles. Now, styles here is actually for the theme, your application theme. So, for example, if you are having your application running under a certain SDK, you're going to apply a certain theme. If you, under a certain version of Android, you're going to have a certain theme. If the Android phone is running, if your Android application is running on a different Android operating system, older, for example, then you're going to have to modify that theme to follow the phones or the older operating system style. Now, strings over here is the part where you keep all your strings of your application. So all the labels, all the hints, everything which has a text on your user interface has to be here. Now, Google is actually recommending that you keep this separated, and they made these strings files just specially for that. Okay? And they made it just specially for that because right now, let's say you are making an application for let's say, okay, right now we are making an application as a DLMS client, and we are, let's say, making it in Bosnian. Now, of course, if we had, let's say, starting having international students, right now you need your application to be translated to make it easier for the user to interact with. Now, you're going to need to translate that application, you know. And if you start to translate the application, you have to get the translator sitting beside you as a developer and changing every control. Now, of course, this is tedious and counterintuitive and counterproductive and everything. So what you're going to have to do here is, if you separate everything into one strings file, you can right now send this file to the translator, and the translator, all what he will do or she will do is translate all these words and or sentences, and then you get that file back. You just simply integrate it into your system or into your application and say, if the localization is, let's say, English on that phone, just please run the English version of the strings file. Okay, so here, instead of hello world, for example, I could type in something else. So here is the strings is divided into two pieces: the name of the string, which you're going to access from code, and the value of the string, which the user is going to see, or you're going to see in the UI layout. So right here, I'm going to have, I could have here like welcome to DLMS, for example. But of course, we will not keep that. Oh, sorry. This is going to be the value. I'm going to call this welcome. And this is, and it's actually a label, so LBL underscore welcome. Okay. I'm keeping here everything low letters, low caps, following the standard of how Android developers put the resources names like that. I think you are not even allowed, maybe. Actually, yeah, you are allowed to have larger ones. Actually, the file names in the resources folder are not allowed to have spaces capital letters or numbers in anywhere. So all of these files has to have just only strings or and underscores, nothing more. No dots, no numbers, no capital letters, nothing. Okay, so this is very, very important. Your application just won't compile. You will get errors. There is an error in the naming of the files. All right, so if you go back again here, you get immediately add string hello world because we are right now referencing to a string value which doesn't exist. So I'll just simply erase that. Now, if you hit Control Space, once you put this like in between these two double quotes, you have the add string, add string kind of resource slash, and then here we go, we have the LBL welcome. So you have the autocomplete as well. The IntelliSense is working for us as well. All right. So if I run this application, and let me get back here. Let me wait for the. Oh, actually waiting for the Gradle build. And there we go. Give it a minute. And there we go. So welcome to the LMS. Now, again, please do not think about this. The size of the text is okay on your screen. It is really tiny. Okay. If you put this right now on your phone, you're going to see like it's really, really, really tiny. So in order to fix this, we're going to have to go to Design, go to metrics and grids. Right here, we have to follow the Android's metrics. All right. So we have to find how large is the text here. So for a 48 density independent pixel here has to be. So we have here like 16 dp. So this is the medium text. So let me double check here. Actually, let me go back. I have to say Android. I think size maybe, or text size, there you go. And right here, I'm going to put here 16 dp. And actually our application, I think it's got bigger, a tad bigger. There you go. If I return back again, you see it just got bigger. So if I had play again, waiting for my Gradle to execute. So, okay. Oops. And then we get it a little bit larger right now, according to the Android's, how can I say, standard. All right, so let's start having some controls working for us. So right now, I don't need actually this text view. I'm going to actually explain exactly what is wrap content and all these layout management later in another video, but we're going to keep it really simple here. Just try to follow me, and for now, we're going to get this demo up and running. Instead of text view, I'm going to have edit text, and edit text is in fact some sort of like a text box where you can actually start inputting text. So if I hit Control S and run this. And there you go. You can in fact start, because I assigned the text property to the text box, so that's why I can start typing things. And you can see here my text box starts to expand based on the text which I'm typing. Now, of course, for a login screen, this is kind of weird, and it's even weirder to have a text right there written for me, and I have to erase it. Now, what we need to do is to have a text box like this, or the edit text has to be centered right here, expanding to the edges, have the password as well under it, and then we have like sign in button there. Okay, so how can we do this? Now, first of all, we could get rid of the labels, and we can put hints in there. I'm going to show what a hint is by just right away typing here hint. And instead of having the label welcome, and as you can see here, everything is just grayed out, and I will see how it looks like in a second. Instead of label welcome here, it'll be a welcome I will in fact change this. I will go back into the style. Let me just hide this again. Go to style. Let me close styles. Actually, I don't need it. Not even the manifest nor the app. And then I'll go and say this is gonna be LBO. Actually, it's gonna be hint underscore login. And here I'm just gonna type in login. And I'm gonna in fact, so I'm gonna have password as well, and I'm gonna have another button. I'm gonna have hint, not login, but password, which is gonna be password. And for the button text, because the button title has to be different, and this right now is gonna be btn sign in, which is gonna be sign in. Okay, so I hit Control S to save this, and let me get back again. And of course, I lost the reference, and of course, you can see the rendering problem cannot resolve this string. So I'm going to actually hit Control Space here and choose the hint login. Now, of course, hint login. Once we actually run this, just a minute again. By the way, I think on some machines enabling the virtualization feature in the BIOS will really help. Now, as you can see here, you get a hint what is it about, but it's not a text that you need to erase because it's just something that's grayed out, waiting for you to type something in there. So if I start typing, it just disappears. If I erase everything, it just gets back again because it gives you a hint what you should write in there. All right. So let me just get back and what I'm going to do here, I'm going to have to tell it for the width of this control. So this edit text, I don't want it to wrap the content, so resize based on the content, but I would like it to match parent. So it will match the parent layout, which is the relative layout, where you can actually start positioning things relative to other things, and we're going to talk about that in detail later. So you're going to see here, you get the login is expanding from this edge to this edge, which is perfect. The height is wrapping content because I would like to get the height of the text is exactly matching almost, or the height of the content is matching the height of the edit text. So we will not have this huge kind of, how can I say, or even less or bigger than the size of the text. So we get everything a little bit natural. Now I could actually copy this, and I will paste it right here. Now, right now I have two edit texts. However, they are overlapping each other, so we need to make them different. Now, what I'm going to do here first is we have to give these controls a name. So I'm going to get here and say Android ID. And by the way, it doesn't matter the placement of where this where these properties are. As you can see, I'm just typing there randomly. It doesn't matter. Of course, it's a good idea to organize the placement so it will be easier for you as a developer to seek out for variables. But anyway, I mean, I personally prefer to put it here. Now, here I'm going to add plus ID, because here you are adding to your resources folder or resources files. You are adding a view. So here I'm going to call this txt login. Right now I've successfully added an U name to the control. And let me in fact just keep this nice and neat and just keep it there. All right, and here I'm going to give this one Android ID equals to plus ID txt, and I'm going to put here password. Opa. Txt password, and yeah, instead of the hint of login, I'm going to give it the hint of password. Right now you can see how they are overlapping. Now, how can we tell one edit text has to be under the other? In order to do that, what I'm going to do here is say Android layout. For now, I have to center it. So center in parent is equal to true. And right now, my password is actually at the center. But I would like as well to make this one in the center, is it? So layout, center, and parent is as well true. Now we didn't escape the problem yet. We still have the same problem. Now what we could do here as well is saying that for the password, Android layout underscore below, actually not below, let me see here. I think it's layout below, and layout below. And right now I can say I am below whom, and here I could pass in I am below txt login. And as you can see here, when I said I'm below txt login, right now the password just simply jumped up from being overlapping with login and just jumped down to the password. Actually, jumped down to be under the login, so the password became under the login. All right. Okay. Now we need to add one more control. We need to add a button. Now, of course, by the way, you can see here that the distance is not okay. We're going to actually manage that later in the next video. Right here, I'm going to have the button. And by the way, I just put the bracket here and I hit, I didn't hit anything. It immediately appeared for me all the controls which I would like to have. And if I hit enter, it immediately asks for me what is going to be the width. And I'm, in fact, seeking for matching the parent. I would like to make it extend under the text box all the way to the side. So I'm going to call this match parent. Now, how much for the height? I will just simply say wrap the content. So put the height of the button as high as the content gets. If the font of the button, of the text on the button gets larger, the button will get larger automatically. Now, what we need to do here, of course, we need to add an ID for it. We need to name it because we need, first of all, to address it when we click on it, so we can access it from the from our code behind in the Java side of the world. And also we need to know how to access it from within the XML file, so we could actually push this under the password. And I'm going to call this btn sign in. Okay. Now, since we have that, we need to put for it a text. So Android text. And by the way, you are under the button. Certain properties are going to be enabled for you, and some other properties are not going to be enabled for you or going to be disabled for you. So don't think that all the properties are all open. This IntelliSense is really context sensitive. So here I'm going to have the text is going to be at string btn sign in. Now we get the sign in text written on the button. Cool. Now what we need to do here again is to center it. So I say Android layout layout underscore center in parent. Now if I leave that like that with true, we're going to end up with the sign in being centered along with the actual text. So I'm going to say here Android layout underscore below, and there I'm going to mention that I'm going to be under the password. And now once I'm under the password, I get my layout has been organized that way. And if I would like to test this, I'll just simply run this so we can see how the things look like here. Now, as you can see here, we are greeted with our activity here, and we have the login, we have the password. Now, of course, this is not okay, and then you have the sign in button, which doesn't do anything for now. Now, let me hit back button here, and let me see. If we would like to make this as a password, we say Android password is true, and if we run this and wait for it, now if we type in, actually it doesn't do anything. Did I? Oh, I actually added it for the login, not the, so login right now becomes the password. Let me actually exchange that. I'm going to grab this, Control X. I'm going to move this right there. Okay, so if I run this application again, We have the login, which is going to be login, and we have password, which is in fact a password, so it behaves like a real password. I mean, password input field. Now, in the next lesson, we're gonna be. It has been a little bit longer, kind of 50 minutes. Right now, we are hitting the 50 minutes mark. It was a little bit long lesson because we really had to introduce a lot of stuff here. I mean, we had to familiarize ourselves with a lot of stuff here. But in the next lesson, we're gonna be starting styling our activity, adding colors, making our buttons and text boxes or edit texts look different. We're gonna explore more about the layout and see how we're gonna manage them correctly. We're gonna get the metrics as well correct and all these stuff. So we're gonna edit all that. Maybe if we have time, we immediately go ahead and go ahead into the home activity where we're gonna have our home screen where we'll get all the announcements displayed for the students. All right.